What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and first things first, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of the day. Well, if you watch both Podcast Now Plus and Podcast Now, you may have to take about 30 minutes or so out of your Thanksgiving to watch these videos. But no, honestly, have an awesome day. Hopefully you guys are doing well. And I thought, what better for a video on Thanksgiving than to do something controversial for this channel? So let's throw it out there. And I've seen a lot of comments in the past, and I've been asked before about the Activision, Blizzard, PlayStation, Xbox. There's a lot of companies involved, right? And I've seen people ask me about like why I don't cover it. Now I actually have. In the beginning parts of the saga, of the story of the century, including the sale, like when it was actually announced, however, a year ago or whatever it was, I did cover it. So I covered the first kind of parts to it, and I do kind of pride myself on like a news channel, partially. I do more than just news, but I do it, and I do like to see stories through. So like if there's something that's like a multi-part adventure tale thing, I do like to cover each part of it. I don't like to just tell the beginning, and then if the story wraps up, to ignore it. And that's kind of, I guess, what I've done with this Activision Blizzard thing. But I'll touch upon what I think about it in this video, but I also want to kind of talk about why. I think it's just incredibly annoying. I think the entire thing is just super... Now, it's drama-filled, like it's juicy, there's definitely stuff there, but I've said it before, like there's nobody probably on planet Earth I hate more than console fanboys. They just appear on my feed even when I don't want them to. I will be real, they actually have kind of disappeared from my feed. I don't know what Elon did, or whatever's going on Twitter, and it was actually before Elon, that's the joke, but I haven't actually seen as many fanboys as I usually have. Maybe it's because the war isn't as powerful with games constantly coming out from both sides. Maybe when that happens, it'll be a little bit more fiery, but honestly, that is probably like the base reason. I just hate it. I hate it. I'm not afraid of people like judging my opinion. Like, please don't spin it that way. I'm just annoyed that I know that when I say something, and that's why I'm going to put it on one video, Thanksgiving, controversial, all that stuff. You make one video, you're going to get the people fighting, and it'll only be a one-time thing, hopefully, and you can all move on. And that's probably why I haven't, covered each step. I'm not, like, opposed to it happening. Like, just let it go through, and we can all freaking move on with our lives. I mean, if you think about it, if you take a couple steps back, they're really, both of them, honestly, are kind of playing with fire. Sony's hurting themselves in a way where they keep saying, oh, this is bad for the industry, bad for the industry. And then you hear rumors that it's possible Sony is holding off on their own announcements because they don't want to look bad when they're petitioning to have. So you have that. And also, I mean, if you want to look at it from like a pro-Sony side, even past this deal, let the deal go through. And then if Sony has other deals in place, Sony can come out and say, all right, Activision Blizzard's gone. Like, we lost some big franchises there. But guess what? We have these 10 things we just locked down. Actually, we locked them down like a year ago, and we're going to talk about it. I mean, there's positives there. And then from Xbox, you get Activision Blizzard, right? Let's just move on with it. I don't really, yes, is there worrisome things? Obviously, the Microsoft side of things with Sony saying, oh, well, they're going to take it all away. And, there is some deception, definitely from both of them, right? Sony kind of talks, and then they do the same thing they accuse Microsoft of. They kind of do. Microsoft, Phil Spencer's not exactly just a truth teller either. Clearly they are going to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation eventually. It's just how long. And then they have the, on paper deal, like a written thing that it was going to be however many years. And then they offered them a 10-year deal. And Sony said, no, it's more about the principle, not about 10 years. It just keeps going. You got Microsoft, again, they both just say really stupid things, like this entire thing. It's, again, why I don't really want to touch it, because I like both Microsoft and Sony. I like them quite a bit. I love their games. I have both their consoles over there. So, I don't like bashing them to bash them. I guess it's not just to bash them, though. It's because they're saying stuff. But you have these things in the course of, Microsoft admitting, basically, that PlayStation has better games. They have higher quality games than us. It's why are we saying these things? The whole thing is crazy. And, I still stand on, and I said this back when, I don't really want companies bought by, I don't want monopolies. So, there is a part of me, definitely in the beginning or when this happened, don't let it through. Just don't do it in the first place. Does that make sense? Where we're at now is well, it's been so long, and eventually, and again, like from another side of things, if Microsoft, and I think people have kind of predicted this, if Microsoft loses this Activision Blizzard thing, if they get shot down, they're going to go out and buy Capcom and Sega, and you could buy like 4 different companies instead of Activision Blizzard. So you saved Call of Duty PlayStation, but then you lose Resident Evil and anything Capcom, anything, so let's just throw franchises, Sonic, all that stuff. You just lose all of those. So like, what's worth more to you? Like, no matter what, Microsoft has a lot of money, and that's just how it works. And they're 2 different companies, and they approach things 2 different ways. So yeah, I mean, when the deal went through, or before the deal went through, and I've always been pretty strong, even when Sony bought Bungie or any of the stuff, I prefer companies to kind of go on their own. I don't really need, because, and it may seem weird now, like I understand why maybe that's not like a great, not a lot of people would think that or agree with me now, but I firmly believe that you go ahead 5-10 years in the future, get your like crystal ball and like look ahead, all of these game companies are going to be run by the same 5 to 7 groups. Like Embracer is going to buy like 50 trillion companies, and they'll just own them all. But I mean, in reality, it's what's going to happen. I think EA will eventually fold in, Ubisoft will fold in, maybe Take-Two. Like, there's going to be like 4 to, I think I said 5, whatever I just said. That number, it's not going to be a lot. And I don't think that's not good for the industry. That's like the same thing, if you ever seen those graphics online of like, look at companies that control like everything, or all these news organizations that are really owned by like the same 3-4 companies. Like, that's not a good thing. That's, like, it's not really streamlining it. It's more like just kind of gobbling it all up and pretending they're all different, but they're really all exactly the same because they're all controlled by the same people. And you see it throughout the world, companies, you know what I mean? And I just don't want that for games. Gaming has always kind of like been the last to fall of like these bad things that happen in society or happen in Hollywood or happen in politics. Like, gaming is always the last thing to get hit by it. And I think just because of the dedication from the fans, and like, we don't put up with BS and stuff like that, right? But they're always like the last ones. And honestly, I feel that way for the companies too. Like, say what you want about the games that some of these companies make, but there were, and there still are, so many different gaming companies, and I just don't want them to kind of all fold into one big, glob of, a thing. I don't really want that, and so I stand on that. I if you asked me before the deal went through, or before they announced it, I should say, right, I would have said no, I would absolutely not like that at all, and I still don't think I do like it. But I mean, again, just do it. It's making both of them look really bad for their own different reasons. Maybe some more than others. I don't care. I don't care if you think Sony looks worse or Xbox. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just throwing it out there. So we'll see what happens. I do think the deal will still go through, but there's more and more fear that maybe it won't. There's definitely more like skepticism, or people worried about the situation. There's definitely more of that now than when the deal went through. People were like, oh, well, we're good. Like, it's going to happen. And as time has gone on, as these regulator boards have, done, taken more and more time and pushed off dates, there's more and more people saying, hey, it may not actually happen. Now, again, all that really means is Microsoft's just going to go out and buy smaller, still big, like a Sega is still huge. It's just not as big as Activision Blizzard. Like, then they'll do that a couple times. And so, again, what's it really changing? What's really changing? So from that side of things, like, if you're on PlayStation side and you're saying, oh, well, again, like, you can look at it a couple different ways. If you're on like a PlayStation side and you're saying, oh, well, we're trying to save the Bandicoot, we're trying to save Crash, we're trying to save Spyro and Call of Duty and all this stuff. Yeah, but you're going to lose. You potentially are going to lose a lot more if this happens. I mean, Microsoft, and people have pointed this out, like, Microsoft has no reason now to play nice with Sony going forward, right? So this 10-year deal for COD, maybe you take the 10-year deal for COD. In a way, like, I respect Sony in the sense of like a business thing, or like a person where it's like, you really don't want something to happen and they offer you kind of like a sweetener, and then it's just, well, do you take the sweetener, so you take that 10-year COD deal, or do you stand on like, no, whether we're right or wrong, or people agree with us or not, we really believe this is bad and we don't want the whole thing to go through. We don't care about a 10-year deal for COD. And in a sense, I respect that, but also in a sense, it's like, please just take the deal. Take the deal, let the thing go through, drop these regulator stuff, and move on. But we'll see what happens. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please be nice. I guess more to each other than to me. I don't really care what you say to me. Thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys have an awesome day, and I hope to see you all on the next one.